Well, when I was in The Wizard of Oz, I was only, when I heard about it, I was 15.
We have seen it all. The yellow brick road, the ruby slippers, emerald towers glowing like something in a dream. It is one of those films that feels less like something you watched and more like something you simply always knew. But do you know what it really cost to create this fairy tale? An actor nearly died from the makeup, an actress was set on fire and hospitalized for 6 weeks, and a 16-year-old girl was put on amphetamines and cigarettes to keep her thin enough to play a child. This is the story of what it really cost to create one of the most beloved films in Hollywood history, and the disturbing reality hidden behind the magic audiences fell in love with. Let's get into it. Before the magic. The year is 1938. MGM has just watched Walt Disney's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs become a phenomenon, the highest-grossing film of the decade, and the studio wants its own fairy tale. They had the source material. L. Frank Baum's The Wonderful Wizard of Oz had been a cultural institution since 1900. The rights were purchased. The budget was set at $3 million, the most expensive production MGM had ever attempted. They wanted spectacle. They wanted something that would define the studio for a generation. And they did get all that, but the process nearly killed multiple people before a single frame reached an audience. 5 directors cycled through the project, not one by one, but chaotically. The first was fired for making Dorothy too glamorous. The second reset the tone and was reassigned. The credited director was pulled mid-production to go rescue Gone with the Wind. A 5th man quietly finished the film, including the entire Kansas sequence, and received no credit at all. No single director made The Wizard of Oz. 5 men took turns steering a ship that nobody fully controlled. And through all of it, the casting decisions, the production chaos, the revolving door of directors, one thing remained constant: MGM's determination to keep the messy, dangerous human parts invisible. The studio wanted a fairy tale, but what happened behind the scenes was nothing short of a nightmare. Life after loss. Everything changed in 2009 when Michael Jackson passed away at the age of 50. The world stopped and mourned a global star, but for his children, the loss felt deeply personal, and they did not lose a celebrity. They lost a father who had always stayed close to them and protected them from the outside world. Their daily lives, surroundings, and sense of safety changed overnight. In a moment, their world changed from a private and protected life at Neverland Ranch to one filled with cameras, pressure, and constant public attention. Michael's mother, Katherine Jackson, stepped in and took care of them, bringing them into a larger family setting where life followed a different rhythm. She tried to give them stability, structure, and a sense of normal life after such a huge emotional shock. For the first time, the children stood closer to the public eye without the same level of protection. Cameras followed them more closely. People watched their actions more carefully. Their private world slowly opened, and they had to face attention in a way they had never experienced before. This shift did not happen slowly. It happened all at once, forcing them to adjust without preparation. Emotionally, the impact stayed heavy. Prince, Paris, and Biggie had to grow up faster than expected. They had to understand loss at a young age while still trying to find their place in a world that already had strong opinions about them. The absence of their father left a space that could not be replaced easily. His guidance, his presence, and his protection were no longer there to shape their daily lives. At the same time, they had to carry his name in a world that never stopped talking about him. Every step they took reminded people of who their father was. This created pressure, not always visible, but always present. They were not just growing as individuals, they were growing under a legacy that shaped how others saw them before they could define themselves. Their new life required balance. They had to stay connected to their father's memory while building their own direction. They had to respect what came before them while learning how to move forward on their own. This period became a turning point where identity started to form, slowly and carefully, under constant observation and expectation. From that moment forward, their lives no longer stayed hidden. and each of them began to move in a different direction shaped by choice and purpose. What they did to Judy. Judy Garland was 16 years old when MGM cast her as Dorothy. She was already under contract with the studio, signed at 13, which was standard practice in an era when young actors were heavily controlled by the studios they worked for. MGMs oversaw nearly every aspect of the actors' public and personal lives, including their diets, and from the moment Judy Garland was cast as Dorothy, MGM became obsessed with maintaining a specific image for her. Dorothy was supposed to be 12, Judy was 16, and MGM treated that gap as something to be hidden. Her appearance was carefully managed every day on set, and to keep her thin enough for the role, MGM placed her on extremely strict diet routines that were built around limited meals, stimulants that would help her keep up with filming demands, and sleeping medication to help her sleep at night. She was 16. Louis B. Mayer, the co-founder of MGM, reportedly sent spies to the set to ensure she was sticking to her diet. He reportedly made cruel comments about Judy's appearance in front of crew members. Later on, Judy herself would accuse him of inappropriate behavior and describe the intense pressure she was under at the time. By the time filming wrapped, Judy Garland was already seeing psychiatrists. By 18, the dependency on stimulants and sedatives that MGM had built into her daily routine had become something she could not simply switch off. She struggled with addiction for the rest of her life. On June 22, 1969, 30 years after The Wizard of Oz premiered, Judy Garland died of an accidental overdose. The same pills MGM gave her at 16 to get through a shooting schedule. She was 47 years old, and that's not even the end of it. The cut and the cover-up. The original cut of The Wizard of Oz ran nearly 2 hours. However, the standard runtime for films at the time was closer to 1.5 hours. When the film producer Mervyn LeRoy screened it, he determined the movie was too long and ordered 20 minutes cut to bring it closer to the standard runtime. They decided to leave out some long tracking shots of Munchkinland and establishing shots of Kansas. Continuity footage that served the story but not the pace. However, that's not all. The most expensive single casualty was a musical number called The Jitterbug. It took 5 weeks to shoot. It cost $80,000, an enormous sum in 1938. The scene was extraordinary, and it was cut entirely. The footage no longer exists. What survives is audio and home movie footage shot on set by the film's composer, Harold Arlen, during rehearsals. The scene is so thoroughly gone that most audiences have never heard of it. And that's not all. Ray Bolger's elaborate dance sequence during Scarecrow's introduction was filmed, then cut. A triumphant return scene in the Emerald City, with a full musical reprise, was filmed and cut. Judy Garland's reprise of Over the Rainbow, filmed inside the Witch's Tower, was cut. After the iconic musical If I Were King of the Forest, the musical heart of the film practically disappeared, with no more musical numbers appearing in the remaining 34 minutes. So where did all of these scenes that were cut out from the film go? And why have we never heard of them? What actually survived? Most of what was shot and cut from The Wizard of Oz is gone. Not archived. Not in a vault somewhere waiting to be rediscovered. Gone, decomposed, burned in a studio fire, or deliberately destroyed as standard industry practice. What survived did so largely by accident. Archivists working on restorations have found fragments, brief outtakes, makeup tests, and production footage scattered across mislabeled cans and forgotten studio shelves. Margaret Hamilton rehearsing with a towel over her smoking hat. The flying monkeys crashing into visible wires mid-shot. Buddy Ebsen in early makeup tests, visibly deteriorating. Judy Garland breaking character between takes, laughing, then suddenly wincing as the crew rush in with ice for a bruised ankle. None of it was ever meant to be seen. These fragments surface occasionally at film festivals, in documentary specials, and on DVD bonus features. And each time they do, something shifts in how audiences understand the film. The seams become visible. The machine behind the magic becomes real. The Wizard of Oz was the most watched film of the 20th century, according to the Library of Congress. Hundreds of millions of people have seen it, and most of them have no idea what it cost the people who made it, or how much of it was never allowed to exist at all. The Wizard of Oz gave the world one of cinema's most enduring illusions, that behind the curtain, there was something wonderful. But the truth is out now, and it is far more chilling. If this is what Hollywood was willing to do to its own people in 1938 and then destroy the evidence, what does that tell us about every other perfect classic we think we know? Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. If you like this video, please give it thumbs and subscribe for more amazing stories like this one.